Thank you everyone for coming back to our event. We're so excited that you're here because we want you to hear from Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff Mack is the one who was with the Mack Prinz case, won a Supreme Court decision, and it changed everything regarding the clarifying who has the power, who's the most powerful law enforcement officer in the county. And Richard's going to tell us all about that in the story today. I am a proud member of his organization, the CSPOA. Richard is a founder of that organization, County Sheriff Peace Officers Organization. Association.
Constitutional Sheriffs.
Constitutional Sheriff. Okay. Constitutional Sheriff Peace Officers Association, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And
CSPOA.org, and everybody can do exactly what you've done. Become a member.
Yes, and you'll see why you need to in the next 30 minutes, and tell all your friends to do the same, because this is literally changing our country. It's changing the narrative. Yeah, so thank you, Richard, so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here, Clyde.
Yeah, so tell us the story, and then save a little bit of time at the end to tell them about the tour that you're going to be doing with so many other patriotic people all over the country, because I think that's amazing too.
Well, both of those are miracles.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, the Mack Prinz case was a complete miracle and quite historic. This is the only time in the history of the United States of America where a sheriff launched a major lawsuit against the federal government, against the Clinton administration even.
Right.
And we took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won. Now, I'm proud to be able to say I started the whole thing. And the reason is we have to go back a little bit in history of my own personal history. When I was a rookie cop in Provo, Utah. And at that time, something happened to me while I was writing a lady a ticket, and I decided that I wasn't just going to be a revenue collector and a ticket writer anymore. And I wanted to be a true public servant. And I wanted to know why we had government and why police do what they do, and what is really the role of today's peace officer in our constitutional republic. So I started studying, and I never read the Constitution before in my life, but I started reading it over and over, especially the Bill of Rights. And I was so dismayed about this, Clyde, because I was part of government. I saw the courts, I saw the legislatures, city, county, and state, and federal. And I saw no similarity. And this is 35 years ago, 40 years ago. I mean, it was 1983. And so I was very dismayed that what I read had no similarity to what we were actually doing. It was all a numbers game. Everybody wanted numbers and numbers.
Revenue, right?
Revenue and numbers. Yeah. And numbers are revenue. You're right. You know? And so I saw all these roadblocks for DUI checkpoints. And sometimes we just did roadblocks to check people's papers. And I go, how does this square with the Bill of Rights and the Fourth Amendment and due process and the Fifth and Sixth Amendment? I'm going, oh my gosh. So I started questioning things. And I started getting this reputation. Oh, there's Mack, the constitutional cop again, you know. I said, I thought we were all supposed to be constitutional cops. We all swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. Every one of us swore an oath. And that's another thing that really had me dismayed. None of us paid any attention to the oath of office we took. None of us. And it was all just case law stuff. But anyway, so that was about 5 years before I decided to move home to Arizona and run for sheriff. That was a miracle. I mean, I got elected sheriff and I hadn't even lived there for 12 years.
Wow.
And I had never worked in law enforcement in the state of Arizona or in my county. But I got a good education in Provo about law enforcement and peace, being a true peace officer. And so, but I was from there. So people said, well, we want new blood, but Mack is also old blood. So he's one of us, he's from here. So I was the new and old blood, and I won. 4 years later, I won again. And just a few months later, I see Bill Clinton signing the Brady Bill into law. And of course, no one ever told the truth about what the Brady Bill was. And man, when I found out, and when the sheriffs of Arizona found out what the Brady Bill really was, oh man, were we upset. Because 3 agents of the BATF gave us a document that detailed what the United States Congress and the president said we had to do to obey them. And literally, they were commandeering the office of sheriff for federal bidding. And I said, and so even those agents that were there, I said, you guys know we don't answer to the federal government. We don't work for you. Well, yeah, you do now, kind of, because Congress passed a law. And I said, I don't care if you pass 500 laws. We still don't work for you. You can't fire me. You can't hire me. They said, well, there's this little thing in the Brady Bill rules that you have to follow, or you might be subject to federal arrest. I said, what? And then all the sheriffs are just like, what? They're just blowing their tops. Right. And so we looked it up, and right there, they showed us the document in the Brady Bill that we were subject, just for saying no, just for refusing to go along with this federal mandate. We were subject to a year in prison, a $10,000 fine, or both.
No way.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time.
Yeah.
I don't make this stuff up. You can look it up yourself. Right. Cornell University did the best review that I ever saw of the case. And when I did my little pocket-sized review of the Mack Prince case, that's where I got all the information, was Cornell University review of the Supreme Court decision. Now remember, folks, let's not skip over this too quickly. A handful of sheriffs took this all the way to the Supreme Court. Prince and I ended up at the Supreme Court together, and we won. We beat the Clintons. We beat Janet Reno. We beat the Brady Bill back in the Brady Bill movement. And the thing that you mentioned a little bit in your opening is that this changed America. Yeah. Because there were 5 Brady bills scheduled to be passed 1 year after the other. Howard Metzenbaum, Senator Metzenbaum, actually introduced Brady Bill 2 just 2 weeks after I filed on number 1. And at that point, I was still alone. Sheriff Prince joined the lawsuit about 3 weeks later. And so we now have Brady Bills 1 and 2 that are getting ready to be implemented. And what the goal was, by the time they got Brady Bill 5 passed 4 years later, that this was going to completely gut the Second Amendment, completely register all ammunition and all guns, stop all gun shows, and basically regulate FFLs, or gun shops, out of existence. Wow. And it was, and so 2 small town sheriffs actually did more to preserve the Second Amendment via the 10th Amendment. We filed on the 10th Amendment, and I'm going to tell every one of your listeners right now, this is the most powerful 10th Amendment state sovereignty, local autonomy case in the history of America. And I'll share some of the quotes there with you, but Scalia wrote the decision, and all he did, Clyde, was give us a history lesson. He quotes the founding fathers. He quotes the Bill of Rights. He quotes the Federalist Papers, of all things. And one part of the Federalist Paper that he quoted was, hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. Right. Different governments are supposed to control each other. Right. And so that's the part that we're trying to share mostly with the sheriffs, that this is actually their duty. Right. To interpose on behalf of the people, to make sure we're not being victimized by governors, mayors, presidents, congresses, legislatures. They are not allowed to victimize us. And the first thing that happens with all 3 branches of government is supposed to be liberty. Yeah. And anytime any branch is violating the principles of liberty that our Constitution is there to protect, It's the responsibility of the other branches to put them back where they belong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for anybody that's listening that doesn't understand, the 10th Amendment is all about that the federal government is to leave to the states all the things that are not enumerated specifically to the federal government.
And the key word there is delegated
Right.
to the United States government. Because if I delegate something,
then you're
doesn't that kind of make me, I'm in charge.
You're
Yeah, exactly. So the key word again is delegated, and I love that part. That 10th Amendment is powerful.
Well, thank God for Scalia, because it was a 5-4 decision too, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that 4 Supreme Court justices wouldn't see.
Well, but this is what really kind of irks me about the Supreme Court. They just play politics, because the 4 Democrats sided with Clinton,
right,
and the 5 Republicans sided with me.
Yeah, it's been a broken part of our system for a long
And
time.
of course, Biden wants to increase that monopoly and put 4 more on the Supreme Court.
It would just be, it's already broken, but it would break it even more. So completely broken if he does that. So so that is an amazing story. So people need to understand how powerful this is. And you have many examples, and I know Brad Rogers, who I'm going to be interviewing later today, I believe, or tomorrow, was a good example where the FDA came in and they were trying to shut down the Amish raw milk farmers. And Brad went in with his department and he told them that they had to leave. And
Brad was kind of being a traffic cop. He put up his hand.
Yeah.
Stop. And he told that to the federal government, and they threatened to arrest him. And then he and I devised a letter together, and we kind of worked on this together. And my hat's off to Brad Rogers. Another key point, though, Brad Rogers had our training and our CSPOA training, and he had it for his entire staff, and other sheriffs were invited, chiefs of police, right in Brad's office in Elkhart County, Indiana. There's something to say about being educated about these principles and knowing and understanding the peace officer's role in preserving our constitutional republic. Do you know that a patrol officer, what his first responsibility is? It's liberty. Right. It's protecting the rights of the people. It's not just writing tickets and getting the drunk drivers off the road and arresting all the potheads and filling up our prisons. The whole paradigm must shift. And that's what we're doing at the CSPOA. Yeah. Not numbers, not arrests, although those are a part of it. We certainly want all the rapes and murders and vandalism and looting and burning. We want those people arrested. We want them investigated. But the whole purpose here is to protect God-given rights. Right. And that's a paradigm shift that we have got to make. And I know that you and your group are totally for that.
Absolutely. And it's not just sheriffs. It's like you're saying, it's all police, because all police and all sheriffs take that oath to the Constitution. When they take that oath to the Constitution, that includes, of course, the Bill of Rights, which is really was put in, if you read the preamble to the Bill of Rights, which virtually nobody ever has because they don't even print it anymore.
I have.
I know you have, and me and
I love that preamble, and it makes it clear that the Bill of Rights is actually the supreme law of the Constitution. It's the supreme of the supreme. And the reason they wrote it was to declare to government there's certain rights that, contrary to what Mr. Biden just said a few days ago, these are the rights that are absolute.
Yeah.
He wanted to, the Democrats keep wanting to pretend to everybody that there's no absolute right, like freedom of religion or freedom of speech and the press. Yeah. Are they out of their minds? Of course there's absolute rights. They're God-given.
And yes, and the exact words that the preamble uses is we're writing this to further restrict the Constitution. In other words, the Bill of Rights is, they're writing this and implementing it. This is directly from the people to further restrict the Constitution. So what does that mean? Again, like you said before, if you're further restricting, who's more powerful? The Bill of Rights is the most powerful part of the Constitution.
It is by far, and it basically it does this. You remember the Untouchables on TV with
Right.
Robert Stack playing Elliot Ness, right?
Elliot Ness, yeah.
The Bill of Rights is a list of about 28 principles of liberty that government can never touch. These are the list of the untouchables, and that is aimed at all government.
Right.
If they ever want to think that they can just do whatever they want, read the Bill of Rights. And another point about that is, Clyde, we hear so much about unity and civility, and President Biden has gone on and on about unity. Could there ever be unity in our government, Mr. Biden? Could there ever be unity in our country and among all the people if we can't agree on the principles of the Bill of Rights? If we cannot unify our nation behind the Bill of Rights, there's never going to be unity.
Right.
Those are fundamental principles that government cannot violate. And if we can't understand that as a nation, then they're right.
Yeah.
There is no absolutes, and there won't be.
And that's why it's absolutely critical to people listening to this, that the training that the CSPOA offers should be, it's up to you folks, everybody that's listening, to make sure your law enforcement, your sheriff's department and your police department understands that what these principles are, and that their number one priority is to protect your rights under the Bill of Rights. And that's it. And that's what they've got to do. So it's up to you folks listening to make sure that your law enforcement people, when they take that oath to the Constitution, they understand and they have the training to protect you and protect your children and grandchildren in your county, and in your community. Because if you don't, then they're going to be told what to do by the state government and the federal government, and they're going to forget, and probably in some cases never even realize what their primary responsibility really is.
Yeah. And Clyde, I've tried to put this whole pandemic thing into perspective.
Right.
And I think I can do it this way. I would like to ask the Democrats and the Republicans, libertarians, and everybody in this country, I don't care if you're a registered whatever, or you're not registered at all.
Right.
I don't care who you are, what color you are, or what religion you are. I want to ask you a question, and I really want you to ponder this. When we signed up to be Americans, and we signed up to be America, the land of the free, and the Statue of Liberty saying, bring us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. And that now we're actually at a point where we're arresting people if they don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
But yearning to breathe free is still our motto. If our government came to us, whether it was right after the Civil War or right at the Revolutionary War, or even right now,
right,
you as Americans, if your government came to you right now and said, yes, of course we will protect your civil rights. We all support the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s under Martin Luther King. Of course we're going to protect your God-given rights. Of course we're going to protect your natural rights and the rights you were born with. Except, time out. If there's an emergency, then we won't.
right,
And if there's an emergency, we will nullify the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights. We will be in charge of your religion, of your freedom of speech, of how many people you have at Thanksgiving dinner,
how far you stand away from each other,
and yes, and that you stay away from each other, that there's no more hugging. Do you know that at the very beginning they also wanted to control relations, intimacy in the home? At first? They also wanted to get rid of guns at first on all of this, and then they kind of backed off some of that lunacy. But this thing is still getting crazier every day.
It's still lunacy.
Every
Put
day.
masks on people definitely weakens your immune system and makes you more likely to get sick. It's the stupidest, most ignorant thing. And the mask
And most of those masks, especially that blue cloth paper one,
right.
they couldn't stop a coronavirus germ if they had to. They can't. They're not even equipped to do that.
Yeah.
And most of those packages, they don't say it anymore, but they used about the first 6 months. This package said, this will not protect you from diseases or viruses, you know?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
exactly that. But the point I want to really make sure everybody grab this. Would you have signed up for that, America? That if government says there's a crisis going on, if there's an emergency going on, then they have the power to shut down our businesses, destroy our economy, destroy our constitution, and destroy the liberty of every citizen in this country, and that people are just falling in line because of this propaganda and this brainwashing that the CDC has put out and that Fauci has put out. If everybody would start studying this out for themselves, especially the vaccination, just look up what the vaccination really is and look up that if you have that mask on, any mask, and you're still able to breathe, are you saying that out of your breath that comes out of the side of those masks, that the coronavirus isn't escaping in those germs and in your breath? It's ridiculous.
Right.
And so it's really not fair what these businesses are trying to do to people, even in the states that have now opened up and said, okay, it's up to you. It's not fair to invite people into your business and then kick them out for not wearing a mask.
No.
And even have them arrested.
Right.
That's not, it might be your right to your property. I don't know. We're still discussing that, but I guarantee it's not fair because you're pushing something that is a lie.
Well, they're practicing medicine without a license as well. When those stores tell you have to wear a mask, they're actually they're liable under the law for practicing medicine without a license.
And I want to work. I want to work with those businesses and keep them open.
Yeah.
But they've got to be a little bit reasonable and fair about this. And that's where I believe the sheriffs of this country come in. Yeah. They need to go to those calls and set the owners of those businesses straight.
Yep, they do. That's exactly right. And I know what some of the people like the Right to Breathe agency with Lenka Coloma, that's what they're doing. I mean, they just say, they come right in and they just tell people that if you are trying to tell me I have to wear a mask, I'll call the police right now. I'll call the sheriff right now, and I'll have them arrest you for violating the law. And
yeah, that one's not working out too well.
Yeah, I know it does for her.
Going the other way, but yeah, I do know some businesses are making it optional.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what a mask is, Clyde.
Yeah,
it's
optional.
My choice. All my health choices are my choices. They're not my doctors. They're not my governments, especially.
And they're not a store.
Assuming that role really drives me crazy.
Absolutely.
And we've got to get back to being a free America again.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's tell that. Yeah, go ahead.
County by county, state by state, one sheriff at a time. And like you said earlier, this has got to be just more than the sheriffs. This has got to be every peace officer, every chief of police, all of us, and the people working with law enforcement to make sure this happens.
Yeah, that's the message I want to get out there today, is that everybody listening to this, it's up to you to make sure your law enforcement understands what their role is under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Amen. And work with the sheriff, educate them, and tell them about your manual that you have for the law enforcement.
Well, we have the County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, and we also have the proper role of law enforcement. But I would say most of this needs to start that these sheriffs and peace officers in this country read the little booklet that I have out. That's the Victory for State Sovereignty. The actual review. What I did is I did the highlighted version of the case. So you don't have to go through Cornell University's big, long review and read everything that every justice said about.
So where do they get that? Where do they get that little book?
CSPOA.org.
Okay.
CSPOA.org. And they're like
what's it called?
$5.
What's the little pamphlet called?
Yeah, it fits it. It's the same size as the pocket Constitution.
And what's it called?
It's right in your pocket.
What's it
called?
Say that again? So what's it called?
It's the victory for state sovereignty, or the U.S. Supreme Court decision, victory for state sovereignty. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't miss it. It's white with all the state flags on it. It looks in our store, it looks big because we've kind of blown up the picture so you can see it.
Right.
Remember, it's the white one with all the state flags on it.
Okay.
So and you'll see it if you read the title. You'll notice. And again, it's really cheap. It's like 3 for $5, and it's
Right.
and everybody needs to read that decision because it's the credibility of
Right.
our entire association and basically my life. You and I would not know each other if I hadn't done that lawsuit.
That's
The
right.
reason I'm here today is because of that lawsuit.
Right.
And it's the cornerstone of our movement and of our organization. And believe me, the Constitution is the cornerstone of all of this. And none of this is going to happen if we don't all return to the basic fundamental principles of our Constitution was meant for a moral and religious people.
Right.
And so that is also, we must turn to God. We must pray for all of this and for our country to be returned to our basics and our fundamentals of our Constitution. And then we've got to work together to do it. And this really means together. This does not mean a political agenda of any kind.
Right.
This means that we will get with our law enforcement and our sheriffs and our local officials and erect the barriers and restore the Constitution. And we have sheriffs that will declare to the entire country and to every government agency, the Bill of Rights will be enforced in this county, and those that violate the Bill of Rights will be pursued criminally.
Yes. Beautiful. Tell everybody about this tour you're taking.
Okay, Robert David Steele. I've been on his show and been interviewed by him numerous times, and we've become very good friends. And he came up with this really adventuresome project that we're going to get some buses out across the country, and many of us in the freedom movement are going to be speaking all across the country, creating rallies all across the country, and doing about 84 stops in 90 days, or whatever it is. And it's probably going to be the most grueling 90 days of my life. Right. But I can rest and sleep afterwards, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be grueling. It's going to be like a campaign.
Yeah.
Campaign. And it's going to be amazing. I've read some of the speakers. They're going to have great speakers, and it's going to be all over the country. Every state you guys are going to visit, and I think here in Florida, there's like 5 cities in Florida that you'll be coming.
Yeah, and what we need to focus on is that this is not an entertainment tour. Right. It's a motivational tour, right. And we've got to. This is, I guess, Paul Revere. Everybody has got to come to the aid of their country. This is, again, you know this as well as I do. This is a non-violent approach to restoring the Constitution. We do not advocate violence. We will not advocate or support violence. Right. In fact, we say this. In fact, this is a quote from Chris Ann Hall, that as soon as, if you're a protester, that's fine. And you can protest and you can commit civil disobedience all you want. But once you start burning and looting and stealing and hurting anyone else, you are now a criminal. You are not a protester. You are a criminal, and you should be in jail. And that's what we support. I don't care if you're left, right, or in between. If you're committing acts of violence and criminal activity, go to jail.
Yeah. And no get out of jail free card.
No, this isn't monopoly.
Like they've been doing, because if they do in these democratic cities that have been burning, if they do get arrested, they just let them go and then back out, So.
And I would like to say one other thing that I think that should unify us as law enforcement and as a nation, and all our public officials should be unifying behind, I believe, this one important cause, and that is to stop human trafficking, to stop the sexual exploitation of children, for God's sakes. If there's, and I don't think we're spending enough time on that issue as a law enforcement community or as a nation. We must get other nations, we must get this nation and all of our law enforcement to stop that heinous, horrible, cruel crime
Yeah.
of human trafficking and sexual exploitation of children.
Yeah, and it's been going on for a long time and people
Way
don't
too
realize it. And I think they're starting to wake it up. And that this event in Tulsa last week, they really hit that hard. And I'm so glad to see them speaking out on
I
it.
didn't know they did, but I know I am.
Oh,
So
they
I'm
did
glad.
big time. They did. They did. Yeah. They
Well, I
did.
was speaking in California during that weekend, so I was not too privy to that. I got
No.
invited to go there, but I was already.
You can get on Telegram and see Lynn Wood and the actor also that's going to be in a movie about the child trafficking in
Good.
Hollywood. They're making a movie about it. So it's finally starting to get the publicity and the exposure that it is, because it's so deep. And the reason
Oh, yeah.
the reason it hasn't been exposed is because it's been institutionalized.
Right. And too many high people up in governments are supporting it.
Absolutely, and have been for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. So listen, you said 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes and more, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate you doing this tour. I mean, I ran for governor of Iowa, and I just going to 100 counties in Iowa. I was exhausted. So,
It's ruined.
yeah, you're gonna have so much fun. You will be, you'll be pumped up the whole time. So
I'm sure you will.
yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for everything. People, join the CSPOA. Go there, go to the website and join, become members, and support this organization and work in your local communities to make sure that your law enforcement people are getting this education. You can hand them that little pamphlet. Order a bunch of those and hand them to your police officers and support them. Tell them you're doing it because you want to support them. You want to help them.
Amen.
Follow the oath that they took to the Constitution.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Clyde, and I'll see you soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here.